Welcome back to the workshop of Wood Spun Round. This is Doug. It is good to have you with me today. I've got here a bowl that I found in a thrift shop. It was very, very inexpensive. I really couldn't pass it up, and I knew it was dark wood. In this video, it looks better than it really is in person, or was in person. You saw there that I put a glue block on the back side of it, had it as centered as I could get it, and there is a little bit of wobble. I already sanded the back side with the first grit, but here I am working on the inside. This is 60 grit sandpaper, and all I'm trying to do is get through the finish. This was obviously a factory made bowl, and the finish on it is honestly as hard as a rock. It was very difficult to get off. So I'm going to show you the bulk of the time that I spent with the 60 grit paper here. It just took a long time. You see a good bit of dust coming off. I do have my air cleaner and my dust extractor running, and so most of it is being caught by those two. You'll see a little later on, there was some on the lathe as I had to clean it off, but the vast majority of my dust did go into my dust collector, and what was airborne went through my dust or my air cleaner, which is right at 5 feet directly in front of me, and just a little over head high. So it does a very good job. But this finish comes off in a fine powder, and I just check every once in a while, make sure I'm getting through it. And there are patches here and there where I'm not quite there yet. They're in the transition between the side and the bottom. There's also 2 or 3 spots along the side there on the inside that were just very difficult to sand away, but they did eventually go away. You'll notice there as well, I've got something dark backing my paper up. This is my normal white sandpaper, but I'm backing it up with a piece of the red Scotch-Brite material. Just something I've started doing. Helps keep my fingers from causing grooves in the surface of the wood. Also helps keep from having those highs and lows. It's a little more even sanding pressure going across there. So I'm using that just to back up my sandpaper. And again, you see I'm reversing. I reverse several times during the sanding process so that my sandpaper is hitting that finish from a different direction, helping to cause fewer scratches in the wood while still helping me to get through the finish to the raw wood. My intent from the very beginning was to go down to raw wood. This is not my bowl, but I'm refinishing this bowl, and we'll sell it as such. But we're getting close to getting the finish off and with this heavy grit, and then I'll be able to go down to the finer grits and get this work down. Just cleaning up here a bit. It's been quite dusty, and so I'm moving on, or I have moved on, I guess. I've done the 60 grit all the way up to 320, and I've blown it out. That bottle that I just set there in front of the bowl is a spray bottle full of alcohol. The alcohol is simply to help me clean the dust out of the pores of the wood, and it gives me a first look of what this wood can look like with the finish on it. So there I'm doing the back side, and here in just a moment we'll do the front side, and you're going to see this is a beautiful, absolutely beautiful bowl. How you like that? What I discovered is that this is indeed a walnut bowl. I wasn't sure with the other finish on it. It was kind of a thick, and it was a thick finish and did not really let the grain shine through. So now, with the alcohol on it, there's nothing on it but this alcohol that will evaporate quickly. But you could see that was a beautiful walnut. And what I've decided was this was a walnut board that was laminated up, just thin strips of walnut glued together. and then rings were cut out of that board, and they were re-glued together to form this bowl blank. And so now that's what we've got, is this walnut bowl. I'm applying here the Axe first step. My jar, the lid says second step on it. It's been renamed as first step. We've decided that this should be first, not after the abrasive paste, but before the abrasive paste. And the idea, this is a tongue paste, tongue oil paste. And so the idea is that you apply it, let it soak into the wood, and buff it off a bit. You can go directly then into your, you can come back with your abrasive paste, but the best idea is to let it sit a while, and that's what I do. I'm applying it here, and we'll actually turn the lathe on and kind of rub it in at a slow speed. And then I come back about 20 minutes later and buff it out. And I had the time, I didn't have anything else I wanted to do on the lathe, so I actually let it sit overnight. I come back the next morning to continue on. But we'll pick it up there in just a minute. Right here, we're just applying the tongue paste. You may be wondering, would this make a good finish? And it would. It would be a fine finish. Just to let this dry and buff it up. It will not make a lot of shine. Just the mixture that's there, it's not very shiny. But here we're just buffing it back. It has sat overnight, actually. And no, it hasn't. It's sat for about 20 minutes at this point. And we're just knocking off the excess that is on the surface. The tongue oil that is in this paste has begun to sink into the wood. The wood is still nice and dark. It's got its beautiful color shining through. One could come back with pure tongue oil or even a tongue oil finish on top of this and be done with it. We're gonna take it a step further with the abrasive paste and wax here in just a bit. But at this point, we're going to leave it. Actually, we're not. We've already left it. I'm sorry. We've left it. We've left it to dry and buffed it back. Now we're going to come in with the abrasive paste. Just making myself a small pad out of paper towel. We're going to apply inside and out, or outside and in, as the case may be, the abrasive paste. There you see on the outside, or excuse me, on the inside, applying the abrasive paste. Just rubbing it around, making sure I've got full coverage all over. The idea with the abrasive paste is I've already sanded with sandpaper up to 320. The abrasive paste comes in at somewhere between 240 and 320, and will take your sanding surface up to about 1,000 grit. So it comes out really nice. And this is just a nice soft cream paste that has the abrasive in it. Axe does a great job of making a paste. It does a super good job. And we're going to start off relatively slow here, about 200 RPMs. And I'm just going to work that in, listening and feeling for that abrasive to break down to the point where we can go to the next step. And I'll go a couple of times, just going up one notch on my speed control. First 2 or 3 times, I'm moving up only 50 RPMs. And I'll use the same spot on my paper towel. I applied, and the first 2 speed increases were all done with the same dirty piece of paper towel before I ever moved to a clean piece. But as I move up, after those first couple of times, as I move up in speed, I'll move to a clean portion of the paper towel, because at that point I'm starting to not only complete the grit process of breaking down, but also I'm starting to remove all of the excess that I want off of there. See me reaching up for my speed control. We're going to go up just 50 RPMs. Still using that same section of the paper towel. Feeling the drag on the paper towel. Listening for the change of the tone. And as it changes, it tells me it's time to speed the lathe up. One segment, one bit of speed, whether it be 50 RPMs or 100 RPMs, whatever it does at that point on the rheostat, and change over to a clean piece of paper towel. So we've done that now. We're all complete with the grit. Now it's time for wax. The Axe Polishing and Restoring Paste wax is a carnauba wax. It used to have about half the carnauba in it that it has now. It was great before. It's even better now. It's a stiffer wax as well. So it's still not hard, but it's much firmer than what it used to be. And so you just get some on your rag. In this case, I've got a little small piece of t-shirt that I've cut up, and I keep it in there. It stays saturated in the wax. And so I'm rubbing it on the outside of the bowl, on the inside of the bowl. Then I'm going to let it sit for just a few minutes. It doesn't have to sit there very long. There are no solvents to flash off, so it doesn't need to sit there very long. But I like to leave it just a little while, let it set up, get a little stiffer than what it is when I put it on, and it seems to buff out very nicely. So here, as you see, I'm just taking my time. I'm going around in circles, much like when I'm waxing a car, making sure I've got good, even coverage all over the piece. And then I'll come back with my clean paper towel, and around 800, even 1,000 RPMs, we'll buff that off. Not trying to clean it off the wood completely, but buffing the wax so that it has as high a shine as I can get out of it. One of the neat things about wax is you don't have to stop at one coat. You wax it up. If it's not shiny enough, add a little more. We've sat about 20 minutes. Come back. I'm going to run this on up to about 1,000 RPMs. And very lightly at first, just take off that excess wax off of the surface. And then once that's gone, I'll add more and more pressure to it, never getting really heavy-handed, just adding pressure to it so that it begins to build just a little warmth. The friction between the wax and the paper towel, let it build just a little warmth, and that'll help buff that wax up to a nice, a real nice luster. Starting to see some reflections there on the inside as I move my hand about. See the reflections of the lights. So it's shining up quite nicely. Doesn't take very long at all to do this part. And so, yeah, just turning my paper towel, making sure I've got a fresh area of paper towel and I'm not reapplying the old wax back onto the wood. Just keeping it nice and clean, getting a nice wax finish. Looking pretty good to me. Walnut, in my opinion, walnut is one of the prettiest woods that we have here in North America. It is a gorgeous wood, whether it's a solid piece, laminated strips like this, or even segmented. Well, as you can see, we are done. Hope you've enjoyed your time with me today. If you have, if you'd hit that like button, I'd greatly appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber, I'd appreciate you hitting that subscribe button as well. Doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps the channel tremendously. So until we're able to be together again, this is Doug at Wood Spun Round, and I hope you're able to spin them round.